The central character, Campbell Flynn, is a 52-year-old art historian who thinks he's a good person. He's always been in the right side of history, supported the right causes. He thinks of himself as a good liberal man. But the reader begins to see that there are things in his life that are off. Something's wrong with him. Maybe he's had knowledge of things and has been part of things which aren't so clean.
What is it about Britain that you feel you need to say?
I think there's an amazing tradition in the British novel of State of the Nation, of trying to give readers the kind of entertainment where they're seeing people from all walks of life, you know, from the aristocracy to poor people, looking at the NHS, looking at the legal system, looking at these oligarchs, looking at what's happening to real estate and money and schools and corruptions. You know, that this can all somehow be managed onto the page in a way that there are secrets being revealed all the time. Reading a novel should be exciting, and we have that great Dickensian tradition of a page-turner, which also has a big moral story to tell. Now, the absurd times that we've been living through recently in the UK are the stuff of satire, the stuff of big novels, I think, and it was irresistible to me.
But the Britain that you write about, that sort of pours off this page, is pretty bleak, right?
Well, I think that it's bleak, but also funny. I mean, the State of the Nation novel often relies on comedy, but under that comedy, there is bleakness, yes, but also a kind of moral seriousness. What have we been through? Are we as good as we think we are? What are we as a nation? These big questions, I think, pour out of the dramas of these people's lives.
You're also a journalist, and you're a bit of a pavement pounder, and there are some fascinating tales in this book, and they have a kernel of truth in them, right? And you've somehow managed to infiltrate these different worlds in order to bring them to us.
It took 10 years to write, and that was the reason, because I was always running off, herring off in the direction of Duke and Duchess, who I would spend time with and get to know the inner workings of that fringe around the minor royals. You know, going to the polo at Windsor, going off with rap gangs, going to look very closely at a sweatshop in Leicester so that I could describe the lives of the Bangladeshi women on low wages who were among the highest numbers of victims during COVID. That's what sparked me off to go in that direction. So I wanted it to be a novel that had the frisson of British reality today.
Is there an element of self-critique here as well? Are these worlds in which you inhabit?
I hope so. I mean, no novelist worth their salt should be writing about other people satirically without also laughing at themselves. And I'd like to think that this is a book where my journey and my beliefs are scrutinised as much as anybody else's.
There's been a lot of talk recently about various different arts cuts, and today we're hearing about the author of Shaggy Bane, Booker Prize-winning novelist Douglas Stewart, sort of horrified that the book festival in Glasgow isn't going ahead this year due to funding cuts.
I entirely agree. I mean, Glasgow is home to some of the most interesting writers produced in Britain in the last 50 years. Glasgow alone, to say nothing of the whole West Coast and the whole central belt of Scotland. It's an amazingly depressing piece of information that the I Write Festival, which was moving towards being one of the best festivals in the literary world, has been cut in this way. It's savage and it shouldn't be happening.
There is a line in the book, I think it's a Polish migrant, who observes that there are two Englands. One is hopeful and one is boiling with rage. Now, is there more rage in this novel than there is hope?
I don't think so. I mean, I think in the end it's my most hopeful book. I mean, I don't want to give away the ending, but certainly after a lot of ferment, a lot of trouble, a lot of secrets being revealed, and a lot of connections being overturned, ultimately, the female characters in this book begin to show you a future where we've learnt something about ourselves. We can't go on as we used to. That casual racism, that strange sort of inequality that we were able to tolerate for generation after generation, I think has suddenly become less tolerable. I think the arrow pointing to the future is one I suggest in this book, and dramatise in this book, is one where a generation just won't have that. We've got sort of hope up ahead of us in this country, I think.
So on this Saturday, where we can sense spring in the air, you do still have a bit of hope?
I think so. You know, it's Easter weekend and it's all about a new rising, and I think there is a new rising ahead for this country. It's not all dark, gloomy and over. I think a certain kind of new tolerance, but also a new way of thinking about how to be in a community and how to be part of a forward-thinking society is happening now. The younger generation are showing us where to go.
Andrew O'Hagan, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.